First problem we're going to solve is very easy. So somehow you'll prompt the user to enter their row mark score from 1 to 100. And then your program is going to convert that row mark score into a letter grade. Okay, so this is the scheme we are going to follow. So I'm just going to use the some table here. It's not exactly SUNY Korea, but that's certainly something we can use. Sorry. Okay, and let me just write it out actually. So basically, if somehow, so let's say we have different marking, different letter grade. So A plus, A, B plus, B, and B minus, B, and C plus. Let's say we only go up to, go down to C plus. Let's say that's the lowest letter grade you can get. So if you get anything that's above 90, including 90, then you get A plus. Okay. If you get anything that's between 90 and 80, then you will get A. And similarly, let's get 75, and let's get 70 here, and let's not get B minus, okay? I'm sort of talking about some letter grade in Canada, so it might be slightly different from the States, but doesn't matter. And then we also have C plus. Let's say for C plus, it will be 65. If you get any 65 or below, then you will get C plus. That's sort of the problem you're trying to solve. We'll solve it together. Okay, let me make sure I'm recording. I think I am. Good. Okay, so now just launch your Eclipse, and then we're going to create a new project here. So go to your workspace. Okay, so that's, we don't want that. So just create a new project. I'll let you do that part. So create a new project called CSE114, let's say week 2, lab 1. So you're going to have lab 1 and lab 2 for this week. So let's call it week 2 to this and B grades. So create a project called CSE114, week 2, lab 1. The name doesn't really matter as long as you know what you're typing.
Yes, sir. I forgot my charger. My laptop is not working right now.
Yeah, would it take long for you to bring it?
6 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm in a wheelchair.
Oh, okay, but take your time, yeah. But don't worry, I'll help you during the 30 minutes, yeah. Okay. All right, so, okay, so now let's say we have this project here, so CSE114 week 2 lab 1. So let's say we want to have a class there, and let's, under source, you can right click, and let's say new, and then class. Okay, so here we're gonna have a new class. Let's say translate mark to grade, for example. That's one possible name. So translate mark to grade, and you can say finish. Okay. So now we're going to put the main method for the entry point for execution. So of course you can type it out yourself if you have already memorized the line, or you can simply type main and control space. That's sort of the trick I hope you will learn. Again, type enter, so everything is completed for you. And of course, all your solution is going to be defined as Java code under the body for main. Okay, let's think about what sort of the steps we're going to implement. First of all, we're going to somehow to prompt the user to enter their letter grade, right? So let's make this maybe a little bit more customized for the user. For example, you might say, okay, first of all, enter your name. I say my name is Jackie. And then the next line is going to say, Jackie, please enter your row mark score. So somehow, the second line depends on what's the answer for the first line. Let's play this a little bit because you will find it useful. And then once I enter my row mark score, you're going to convert that into letter grade. And that's it. That's sort of the flow for the program. So let's do one step at a time. So first of all, we can say system.out.print line, semicolon, don't forget. So now we can say enter your name, colon maybe, enter your name. And now to actually read input from the user, we are going to need a scanner placeholder as we said in the class. So just follow me on the typing here. So we're going to say scanner. And now when you type scanner, control space. Okay, well, I'll do it again. So basically, somehow scanner is defined in the Java library. And you would like Eclipse to actually somehow to import a library for you. The way to do this, let me show you again. So type scanner here and then control space. And then you will see that Eclipse will put in the import statement automatically for you. Okay, that's actually quite convenient. So scanner, let's just say input as our convention, equal to new. So new here really means to create a new object, but we'll talk about objects later in the class. You don't have to worry about that for now. So new scanner semicolon, and within the parentheses we're going to say system.in. Okay, that's a line you have to. But in the quiz, I'll actually give this line to you, so you don't have to memorize that. Later on, once you understand the concept, you will just know how to write it. Okay, so now since we already prompt the user to say enter your name, so now imagine the user is going to enter something on the keyboard, so it has to be somehow read by the scanner. So as I said in today's slides, there are actually different methods for you to use. You can say next integer, next double. In this case, we're going to get their name. So we say next line. So you would say somehow we're going to declare a placeholder for the name of the user and say equals, and then we'll say input dot, and then you'll see next line is somehow available there. You can just press enter. So that's how we get their name. So this name here can be Jackie, can be Peter, can be Jonathan, can be anyone, whoever is going to use your program. So now, next line here, we are going to prompt this specific user for their row mark score. In this case, we can be more customized because now that we know their name already. So now, try to practice what you might write. So I want to say something like if the name is simply Peter, then what we want to say something like Peter, please enter your row mark score. How would you write it? So here we say system.out.println. I'll give you 30 seconds to fill in before I tell you the solution. How would you say something like whatever the name is plus please enter your row mark score? How would you do that? Somehow you want to combine two strings together, right? So one string is the name of the user, which you have already placed that in a placeholder called name, right? So now you want to somehow combine that string with the message, please enter your row mark score. Somehow you want to combine those two together, right? Okay, so the way to do that is, so this part is easy. You can say enter your, let's say please. Let's be a little bit polite. Please enter your row mark score. Okay, so now somehow we want to customize this welcome message here to say whoever the name is. So we say name, right? So this name over here corresponds to the name we have there, right? The name was the placeholder that we created to store whatever the user entered from the keyboard. So now name happens to be Peter, happens to be Tom, happens to be Alan, doesn't matter. So it's going to change the welcome message accordingly. Okay, so now once we have done that, so we get a name from the user. So now we're going to prompt the user for their row mark score. Let's assume it's going to be some number between 1 and 100, right? So that's something we assume, let's say. So now we're going to read it from the user, right? So we're going to say integer, for example, because row mark score is going to be an integer. So we need some integer placeholder for that. So let's say marks maybe, is equal to, so now instead of saying input the next line, we're going to say the next integer from the input, right? So it's different type. So input dot next int. Okay, so please make sure you understand that in line number 10, we are trying to get a string from the user, whereas in line number 14, we are trying to get an integer from the user. Of course, we are making the assumption that the user is going to behave. They are not going to type any random input to us. That's something you can assume, that's okay. But later on, we'll teach you how to use some more error handling mechanism. Okay. Okay, so once we get the marks from the user, and we have to somehow to convert their row mark, which is somewhere in between 1 and 100, into either A plus, A, B plus, B, or C plus. So this is exactly the place we can use selections, right? So we're going to say, conceptually, you're going to say, well, if the row mark is anywhere that's larger than or equal to 90, I'm going to give this guy A plus. Otherwise, if his row mark is larger than or equal to 80, then I'm going to give them A, and etc. Right? So now I would suggest I'll give you maybe about 2 or 3. This is the critical part. I'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay? You can feel free to refer to the lecture notes, which is also available online already. Refer to the syntax there, and then try to see if they come up with something, and then we'll do the solution together. That's going to help you with the other exercise that you have to be graded later. Okay, so if you go to the website there, oh, I don't have access to internet, but I'm sure you have the wireless. Maybe I can bring up the syntax for you from my lecture notes. So 114. So for example, you can see there that, so we said this should be sort of the structure for the syntax. You can say if, that's mandatory. For example, you can say if the marks is somehow greater than or equal to 90, in which case I will actually assign the letter grade to this user as A plus. That's one way. And then else if it is not the case that it is larger than or equal to 90, then I'll check to see if it is actually greater than or equal to 80. If that is the case, I'm going to give A to this user. Otherwise, I'll just have different branching conditions, right? So let's see some example here, which we talk about. For example, here, yeah, it's going to be very similar to this. So here you can see that in this case, we actually have if x larger than 10, then we do the following. Else if that's less than 10, we do other things. Else we do other things, right? So now, somehow for each of the branches, we're going to assign a specific letter grade to the user. Okay, I hope that helps. So I'll give you 2 minutes. So now you're free to talk to your neighbor if you want to give me advice. That's fine. So I'll give you 2 minutes to try to do this, and then we'll go back to the Eclipse. So that's one thing you can refer to, and also the table here. I'll put them aside here. I hope this is not too difficult, right? Hopefully you're getting used to it. But don't worry, I'll help you with this hand by hand. So, yeah.
Can we assume that if the user inputs a number less than 65, he still gets a C++? For example, if the user enters 50 as his mark.
Oh, that's a good question. So basically the scheme is going to be, let me see, if, the user is only okay, good question, sorry. There's something I need to add to the table, let's say. Okay, so C plus means if the row mark score is greater than or equal to 65. Let's say if the user got anything below, let's say simply give F to them, just failure. Okay, that's a good point. I forgot to mention that. See what I mean here? So what I just said was, so you can think of the number there is sort of like the lower bound for each letter grade. So if the row mark score is greater than or equal to 65, you're going to give them C plus. However, if that's strictly below 65, you're just going to give them F, failure. That's what I meant. Okay, please try to somehow to mimic this structure here and see what you can do. Once you make the breakthrough this step, everything else is going to be much better. Thanks for making the efforts. You haven't missed much, don't worry. Yes. Oh, so in this case, So of course, in your program here, you're not supposed to use x, right? You're supposed to use whatever the placeholder is that has stored your roll mark score. Feel free to raise your hand if you got stuck. I can help you. Question? Oh, okay, good.
System of
Yeah. Yeah, so you can think of you have different ranking conditions. So the first one you check to see if this person got A plus. If he doesn't deserve A plus, then we check to see if he deserves A. And so we say if, and then if such and such, we give him A plus. Else if such and such, we give him A, and etc. And then eventually we say if he doesn't deserve any of the above, then we give him F. Oh, first. So is that equals already? Oh, that's not the for Java. You may have to download the for Java developer. Yes. So you can go to where you download it. Yeah, second. So yeah, it should be the second one actually. Oh, okay. Okay, we're fine from that. All right, question? Yes.
The question was simply, but I got an answer from that. If the else if statement has to go inside the bracket of the if statement, or
It should be outside. They're completely independent branches. Okay, so just another minute, and then we'll do it together. Yeah. Okay, just take one more question, and then we'll start. That's a comment. Well, yeah, that's a very good example to learn. Don't worry, I'll get you tell them why that went wrong. But don't worry, no, that's okay. Don't panic. I think it's good that you have this, so we can. It's a good learning opportunity. You can make eyes. You only have to mark. So X should be with 25 marks. Right? You don't really define good. Okay, so now we're going to do it together. Let's see how we can do it. Okay, so basically the way to do it is by using things like this. So now somehow the skeleton would be if, let me just write it more like English. I'll translate it into Java in a moment. If the marks is somehow greater than or equal to 90, then give him, let's say him, give him A plus, right? Otherwise, if his marks is actually greater than or 80, greater than give him A. Otherwise, if the mark is greater than or equal to 75, then we say give him B plus. Okay, do one more. Otherwise, if their marks is greater than or equal to 70, so you would say give him B. Okay, maybe a few more. Otherwise, marks is greater than or equal to 65, and give him C plus. Well, if very unfortunate, if he doesn't even get 65, then failed him. Let's say that's sort of the conceptual model you should have, right? But now we should think about how to translate that into Java. So now, when we say if marks is greater than or equal to 9, that's easy. So you just have to enclose that by parentheses, right? Okay, and also you need a curly brackets here, and here you also need the curly brackets. Okay, now to give him A plus part, I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so now, so here you can simply say system.out.print line, and then you can say A plus, for example, right? I'm just going to say I'm going to give you A plus. So now the otherwise part is going to be interesting. Okay, I'm going to give you two choices, and you tell me which one would be more appropriate. Okay, either I can say if this is more like what Haman did. You just show me. I'm going to explain to you. So marks, let's say greater than or equal to 80. Okay, let's say, and then I would say, okay. This is the first approach. Okay, either this way, or else if. So there are two possibilities. One of them is not so correct.
Second one, first one.
Yeah, let me, sorry, this should be A. So, okay, I'm going to ask you to make a choice for me. So basically I'm asking, we know that the first one is correct, so we're going to see if the mark is greater than or equal to 90. If it is the case, give this guy A plus. Now, for the second check, either we can just use another if. Okay? And then we can say if this guy got larger than or equal to 80, then we're going to give him A. Another possibility is, let's forget about this part. Okay? After the if, we simply have another else if. And say else if marks greater than or equal to 80, then we're going to give him A.
I think if you do like if twice, it's gonna print out A plus and A at the same time, like A plus and another line A. Because it's,
Okay,
the score is 90.
everybody follows what he's trying to say. So basically, let me tell you exactly. That's exactly correct. Okay. So now, after the first one, if we just got another if. So this if has nothing to do with the previous if. It's like completely separate. So now it's going to check. Let's say we got 95 for me. So first of all, it's going to check to see I do have 95, which is larger than or equal to 90. So I should get A plus. However, since this if has nothing to do with the previous one, so they're going to do a brand new check and see if 95 is really greater than or equal to 80. It is. So you would print out to say now you should get A rather than A plus. Right? So now, on the other hand, if I use an else if statement instead, so this is going to have the following meaning. It's always going to check the first branch. If the first branch is not true, then we'll go for the second branch. If the first branch is already true, then we wouldn't bother to check all the other branches. That's really the crucial difference. So let me show you again. So the correct way to type it would be, you would say, else if marks greater than or equal to 80, then with system.out.print line A. And of course, need a semicolon here. Okay, once again, it's very important to know because you're going to need the same technique for your exercise. Now, this else if is part of the if statement. So the meaning is, whenever, so you're going to check the branching conditions here one by one, from top to down. As soon as you reach the branch that is satisfied, you just go into that branch while forgetting about the other branches that comes later. You just don't check them anymore. Okay? So in this case, if I already know this guy got greater than or equal to 90 for the row mark, I'll just do A plus. I don't bother checking greater than or equal to 80, 81. Okay, that's really the key. Okay, you can kind of follow the same pattern here. So now we can say here we can say else if marks greater than or equal to 80, then we'll do, so we'll do, let me just copy this. So now we get 75 rather than 80, of course. 75, in this case, we'll give B plus, right? Okay, let me just, okay, you understand this already. So now we're going to do a few more, okay? Now we should get 70. In the case of larger than or equal to 70, that means we're going to get B. In the case of 65, then we're going to get C plus. Now, if the person doesn't even get greater than or equal to 65, let's say else. For the else part, so this means this person is not greater than or equal to 90, it's not greater than or equal to 80, and down the row, not even greater than or equal to 65. That's why we should fail him. So we say system.out.println f. Okay, so now let me just run a few test cases for you conceptually to actually help you understand this. So now let's say we get a number, let's say 77. So the way to execute this branch, this if else if statement is, first of all, 77 larger than or equal to 90. True or false? False. That means we wouldn't bother going to this branch. However, because this branch is false, so we should try another one. Keep trying until you reach the first one that is satisfied. Now 77 larger than or equal to 80. False. So you wouldn't go to this branch either. Now, the third one, 77 larger than or equal to 75. True. So that means this person should get a B plus. And since this is the first branch that we hit, that actually returns true. So we would not bother to evaluate the rest of the branches. It's done. Okay? So now the else part is really like a safety net to make sure if a person doesn't satisfy any of the branching conditions, then at least we got some letter grade to assign them, in which case it will be F. Okay, so now please let me mention again. If you imagine that if you simply get rid of the else from here, just like what Harman initially did. So if you simply have if, that means now again we have 77. So this is false, so we wouldn't execute this if branch. This is also false, so 77 is not larger than or equal to 80, so we're not going to execute this. So this is the first if statement that returns true. So we're going to say B plus. However, because we have just got another if branch, in this case we're going to say 77 larger than or equal to 70. So we're going to print out B again. So we're going to print B plus, B, C plus, and even F for this person if you didn't do an else if. Questions? No? Great. So let's do some exercise then. Okay, and we'll go over the problem together. So in case you need any hints, I will help you as well. So I don't want you to get any marks you got it, but try your best. I'll let you read first, and then I will go over with you together. You'll find that the solution is going to be very, very similar. Oh, I got. Oh, actually, I do apologize. Okay, so while you're reading it, I'm going to bring up the PDF version on the computer and I'm going to discuss with you quickly before you go ahead and do it yourself. If you actually watch your diet or your body shape very carefully, I'm sure you have done this kind of calculation before. which is kind of fun. Okay, I'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes to read it, and they'll go over together. But feel free to start if you would like to start. We'll go over together first. Question? Oh, I see. So you didn't need this semicolon. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, you can read the semicolon. Okay, just to bring your attention, draw your attention here. So when you were, I think this, I will talk about this in the Friday as well. But be very careful. So after, whenever you specify some branching condition here, do not put any semicolon here. If you put a semicolon here, that means the if statements ends over here already. Okay, so make sure you don't put a semicolon. Okay, 1 more minute, and then we'll go over together. And then I'll let you do it. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'll bring this back. Just bear with me maybe 2 minutes. Okay, let's go over quickly the problem together. So basically, the problem is that we're trying to get 2 pieces of information from the user, basically. Well, at least 2. There's going to be 3, including their name. So basically, we're going to get their weights and going to get their heights. However, be very careful here. We're going to get their weights and heights. In order to calculate the BMI, we need to get their metric units, the meters and kilograms. That's something we need to in order to calculate. However, when the user enters the information, they're going to enter something in a different units. They're going to enter the information in imperial units, like pounds and inches. Okay. So now, the BMI formula there, K divided by m squared. Notice that this is actually kilograms divided by meters squared. However, when the user enter, they're going to enter pounds and inches. So you cannot directly use the user's input to calculate the BMI. You cannot. You have to somehow do the conversion from pounds into kilograms and then from inches into meters first. Okay, that's the first thing to know. And let's see, I also have some hints for you here. So now, in order to, once you get the pounds from the user, to actually convert the pounds into kilograms, you can use this rate over here. So that's maybe some constant you want to define in your program. And also to convert the user's height in inches into meters, this is a conversion rate you should use. Maybe another double constant, right? Okay, so this is like a sample run. So first of all, you should prompt the user for their name. Let's say Jim. So, and then we're doing something similar. We're going to customize the welcome message, right? We say Jim, now that it's Jim. We say Jim, enter your height in inches. And Jim is going to enter 68 inches, maybe roughly about 173 cm, something like that. They'll say Jim, enter your weights in pounds, 168. And then internally, somehow your program is going to convert 68 inches into meters first using the conversion rate. And then to convert 168 pounds into the kilograms using the conversion rate as well. And then your program is going to calculate the BMI using the formula I gave to you above. And then they're going to calculate, once you get BMI, it will be something like this, for example. And then you have to interpret this number here by consulting with the table there. The table there is pretty much like a letter from roll mark score to letter grade, right? So now you're just going from BMI into either someone is underweight, normal, overweight, or obese. Okay, so now finally you should output 2 things. You would say, Jim, your BMI is this number here, and you are overweight. You're overweight. Yeah. Okay, the exact output string, I wouldn't be so strict on that, but please, at least you have to put at least a simple case like this. That should work. Okay, I will give you about 30 to 35 minutes to do this. It should be fairly straightforward too. You can feel free to copy and paste your letter grade program to actually help you start with, and then to actually try to make a program like that. Okay? Okay, try not to talk to your neighbors. Okay, if you got questions, raise your hand. I will help you. Okay? Okay, I'll let you work. Yes, feel free to make a new file. Yes. Yeah, I always suggest you make a new file so you can keep both files. Yes. Yeah. How do you make a new class? Press. Okay. So to make a new class, all right. To make a new class, if you go back to Eclipse, so you will have to, for example, under. So let's say you have a package. Sure, please. So if you go have a package here, you just right click on the package and say new and then class. See that? Right click on your package here and then say new and then class. Okay? And then you can enter the name of your class. For the name of the class, yeah, I actually said it already in the problem. You can call that maybe compute and interpret BNI, something like that. The way I'm going to test your program is I'm going to enter my weight and height. If you give me the wrong interpretation, I'll fail.
The naming conventions, is it okay if we use them slightly different?
That's okay. I wouldn't be so strict on that. So just make whatever you want. Of course, the output has to be more or less exact.
Yeah.
For now, I'll stop the recording.